Preview.
Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Mysterious Podcast.
Preview.
I hope you all are well. Today's story is an true based haunted story. You all must have known about the ghost exit to world. That's why the story someone experienced. I hope you like it story. 14 years old now and much the only one in my family who believes in the supernatural. My parents and everyone else keeps telling me that it's just nonsense, but I know that's not the truth. I have several experiences throughout my life and I thought I'd tell you about them. I'm from Canada and my dad grew up in a village up north. The summer house we have there is sort of on the countryside and it was built somewhere between the 1928s and the 1930s. My grandparents raised my dad and his brothers there. My grandpa passed away before I was ever born, so I don't remember him, although I was very close to my grams. And apparently I was her favorite grandchild, probably because I'm the youngest cousin. She died in 1998 and I remember how upset I was about it, but since I was young I got over it quite soon. A couple of years later, when I was around 10 or 11, during one Easter holiday when my dad and I were having lunch, downstairs of the kitchen, something strange happened. I suddenly heard a person laughing and immediately looked at my dad, since the two of us were the only ones in the house, and asked what's so funny. My dad gave me a strange look and replied, "I thought you were the one laughing." My dad's the type of person who always has a good joke in store, but there was something about the look on his face that freaked me out, but we never heard the laugh again, although, when I think about it now afterwards, I think it was Grams laughing at us. The second experience in that house was one summer when I was around 13 or 14 years old.
Preview.
I was in the upstairs attic, which was turned into a bedroom. I was sitting on the bed drawing. My dad and the others were outside working.
Preview.
I was lost in my thoughts, but snapped out of them when I heard our old Koika clock making noises, and this is a clock that hasn't worked in decades.
Preview.
It went on for about a minute or two and then stopped. Feeling myself getting scared, I ran outside as fast as I could. Since then I've had a few other experiences every now and then, such as the TV switching channels on its own, rocking chairs rocking when empty, and I've heard footsteps walking up and down and throughout the rooms when I've been alone. I know it either my Grams or my grandpa, and that makes me less scared. It's actually sort of comforting knowing that they're around, looking after us. When I was 13, my dad and I moved to Africa, or more specifically Namibia, where we lived for 2.5 years because of his work. We lived in a large house, roughly around 300 meters square if I'm not mistaken, and since I was home from school earlier than my dad was home from work, I was often alone between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, since our maid left around 3 o'clock. During one of these occasions, I was in the TV area zapping through the channels, and our dog Mickey was lying on the couch with me when he suddenly jumped off the couch and started barking aggressively at something in front of him, but there was nothing there.
Preview.
He then ran downstairs to the front door and started barking again, but then after a while, he walked back to me, but kept looking behind him as if something was there. When I was 15 I moved back to Sweden, but I moved in with my eldest uncle and aunt in a town up north because my dad was still in Namibia, and I didn't want to live in Stockholm with my mom.
Preview.
The first couple of months I lived there went on as normal and I never heard or saw anything. But that was soon about to change. It started one night when my aunt and uncle were taking these French lessons and I was home alone for about 2 hours. I was in the living room on the phone with a friend when I heard footsteps walking upstairs, into the hallway, through the living room where I was sitting, in through the kitchen, and then disappeared without a trace. Guess how high my pulse was running? The other thing happened when my two friends, let's call them Sally and Hannah, were sleeping over. We were in the basement because the temperature there was a lot more comfortable than upstairs. Sally had fallen fast asleep, but Hannah and I were still talking. We had locked the door and all windows and made sure we were the only ones there, but apparently we had been wrong. Around 11 p.m. I heard someone running fast upstairs, and next thing I knew the knives and forks in the kitchen drawers were scrambling loudly, and both Hannah and I were scared out of our wits. During another time when Hannah was at my place, we were sleeping upstairs in a room with the door closed. It must have been sometime early in the morning, around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and both of us heard a door loudly slamming shut, but just once. Although all of these experiences were frightening, there is one that tops them all. I've always had a slight fear of the dark and sleep with lights on. I sleep in a room upstairs, and my aunt and uncle have their bedroom downstairs, and they always sleep with the door closed. I remember it clearly because that night I had a bad stomachache, so I didn't sleep very well. I woke up around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, and when I turned around, I saw a man by my bed. I was too shocked to be scared and thought I was dreaming, but realized I was very much awake, and I remember the man asking me if I had a stomachache. I replied that I did, and he bent forward whispering something I couldn't hear, and next thing I knew, he was gone. I've never seen him since then, and I've never told my aunt and uncle about what I saw because they would say it was my imagination or I was dreaming, but I knew what I saw. I don't think he wanted to harm me. But I don't understand why my aunt and uncle haven't felt or sensed any of these haunting before. Am I supernatural magnet? Thank you for the listing. Friends, how did you like the story? Family homes. It started when I was 20 while I was taking shower. A cold breeze hit me, and at first I thought nothing of it. I felt it again, and a weird feeling came into the pit of my stomach. So I got out, grabbed a towel and my clothes, and went into the bedroom to dress. While I was drying off/dressing at super speed, something I couldn't see let out a nasty growl on the right side of my mom's bed. I ran out of there. Later, my bed began to shake at night. I thought perhaps it was me being paranoid and shaking, therefore shaking the bed. So I had my brother sleep with me. He woke up before me and then woke me up because he felt the shaking. After that, me, my brother, and sister all slept in my mom's room with the door closed and locked. I would hear things moving around in the front room, see shadows in the hallway, hear whispers. I was home alone one day and brought my dog inside. I was too scared to go alone to the back bathroom, so I had my dog wait outside the door. There was a loud crash noise from my room and my dog ran away. She wouldn't go back there again. After we moved from that house, other neighbors started hearing things. This was my first but not the last experience. We later moved into a house a family friend lived in. For a while I was okay, but then I began having nightmares of things attacking me, making me not able to speak or move. It was horrible. One night a friend stayed over. I never told him anything involving my experiences with ghosts. He saw something in the hallway from my room and asked if my house was haunted. Alarmed, I asked why. He had seen the figure of a black man looking into the room. I was so scared. I like to pretend I never felt anything in the house. But once he told me this, I couldn't just ignore the problem. His friend came over to pick him up and couldn't believe the activity/evil that was in the house. He told me 2 dogs lived there among other things. I have seen one of the dogs on 2 occasions. Both times I thought at first it was my dog, but quickly realized it wasn't. The first time I saw it, I only caught a glimpse of white legs and paws. The second time I was getting into the fridge and I glimpsed a white dog face to my right. For once, I didn't feel threatened by a spirit. Later on, I could hear knocking and scratching on the walls coming from outside. There was a loud vortex-like sound coming from the backyard. My dog would bark and freak out sometimes. I thought it was odd that never once did my family wake up from him barking. I became too scared to fall asleep and would stay up all night and wait for daybreak to go to sleep. I later found out from my friend's friend that he just knew the land I lived on had been a landfill some time ago. It didn't register to me until I remember a neighbor boy telling me the same thing a couple of years before he stated this.
Preview.
I now live in apartments by a cemetery, nice choice huh? And have a daughter. Sometimes she'll watch something in the apartment that can't be seen and laugh or just stare. It scares me for I don't want her to be able to feel/see the things I do. It's awful and horrifying. Another experience I had was in Fairfield, Texas at Rockville Cemetery.
Preview.
A former boyfriend took me there late one night because he was bored. The second I stepped onto the soil I got a bad feeling from the place. I felt as if I was being watched, followed. I didn't see anything or hear anything, but that feeling was overwhelming and I made him take me back to his house.
Preview.
I will never again go back there. A lot of people from the area have told me stories of their experiences. It is a very haunted place. These are my stories, though they do lack some detail. I became an insomniac and developed a phobia of people breaking into the house and of spirits. I have to have an animal with me wherever I live. For I believe if there is something there, they will know. I sleep only against a wall with my back facing the wall for fear of something coming up behind me and touching me. I could go on and on. Thank you for the listening. We are start new podcasting. Friends, how did you like the story? I liked it. Please like it and share or subscribe the channel. Stay tuned to our channel to hear more such stories. Thank you very much for listening to the story.